Oh, I thought we were going to get to hear Cody's rap twice there. UFC pay-per-view week is upon us. But first, remember the show, episode 87, of course, Thursday night, getting you hyped for UFC 283. My name is Jason Anik, as always, joined by my man, fourth-ranked UFC welterweight Belal Muhammad, fresh off an appearance on a podcast almost as widely viewed as Remember the Show, the Joe Rogan Experience. Welcome back to Chicago. What is up, my brother?
What's up, my brother? Yeah, I'm like, I'm looking around in my basement. I'm like, man, I need to upgrade this studio after seeing Joe's studio. And I was like, all right, we got to do some upgrades right now with the show.
Seriously, and that poster. I mean, I think I see Max Holloway over your right shoulder.
Yeah, that's Max Holloway against Poirier. One of my
yeah. Oh, you just muted yourself. We want the main event, Muhammad.
Yeah, I need to put it there. Yeah,
exactly.
I want to put it there. But this one right here is the Adesanya Gastelum fight. It was like one of the best fights. So I sat there. I got all these posters and I bought all these frames. And I'm like, I'm gonna put every single one of my fight posters on there. And it literally took me like 30 minutes to put this one poster up. And I was like, all right, I'm just doing this one poster right now because you have to like edge it out so perfectly. And I'm like, I'm gonna pay someone to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Come on. Especially once you're wearing the strap, you pay people to do all sorts of things like that. So we're going to get right into the topics, so UFC 283 is honest. We're certainly going to get into a lot of that tonight. But as always, the press conferences bring out the best in these fighters amidst weight cuts. A lot of chatter amongst your colleagues in the welterweight division. Cody, I think you might have a clip ready. One of these gentlemen waxing poetic.
I got frustrated with that too. I'm over already. Like I said, I'm focused on you, Magny, but how the heck Belal Muhammad beats Sean Brady? I have nothing to do with that. He passed me on the ranks. Like, I got it. Okay, he got a couple wins, but he never beat me. Why? He took my place. And he declined the fight when they offered him to fight. So we fight each other here. We all know why no. Because he got my place. But I think he's still number 5. He will say yes. So that's one thing that I don't like it. He's out of my control. But that was a little frustrating. Like, man, how the fuck this guy passed me on the ranks? Like, he never beat me. And he don't want to fight me. So why?
Yeah. So that's it, right, Cody? And, we didn't tell Belal we were going to play this. And obviously you responded on Twitter. I mean, you don't need to hear from me, but that was Gilbert. Last time I saw Gilbert, he was in the presence of me and you, watching Jared Gordon up on the scale at ceremonial weigh-ins. And here we are.
It's funny. It's like, I'm like, bro, everybody's now trying to create some type of controversy with me. And I'm like, I went into my texts and I'm like posting the texts that I'm texting Ali. Like, I was trying to fight you before Sean Brady. That fight made sense after I beat Luque. I was 5, you were 4. And I was like, give me Gilbert, give me Gilbert. And he's like, Gilbert's going to wait for Masvidal. Gilbert's going to wait for Masvidal. He's going to wait for Masvidal. So the reason I'm above you is because you lost your last fight. You lost 2 of your last 3. And I'm on an 8-fight winning streak. And you lost to Khamzat, but you lost to Khamzat when he was like number 11. So if we're talking about numbers here, you're coming off a loss. Go out there. I don't know how much you really gained from beating a Magny, because to me, Magny sucks. So I'm like, go out there, do well against Magny. Worry about the guy in front of you. And then you got the same thing, Magny calling me out. He's like, oh, it's 10 years in the making. I was like, bro, 10 years in the making. What are you talking about?
Like, I know. Well, the whole thing is fascinating to me. And also, too, when we talk about like rankings, it doesn't really matter. I mean, should we talk about Chimaev's ranking and how that evolved, because some of these guys just get plucked, they just, you just sort of get slotted in. So obviously I don't think it's a big deal, but obviously anytime my boy T Muhammad's name gets, bantered about, I get all fired up. I call my brother John today, all fired up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually happy there that now people are looking up to me. Now they're saying my name. Before I was sitting there like, let me get this guy. Let me get this. No, you're not my number. You're not near me. You're not near me. And I'm looking at it like, bro, I've never turned on a fight in my life. Don't sit there and try to play that narrative or play this little fake game of trying to talk trash now when you're not that type of guy. Like, we don't talk trash to each other. Like, I'm cool with you. Like, I would fight you without having to create any chaos with it. But I'm like, I'm looking for a different guy. His name is Chaos. And that fight makes the most sense to me. I think, especially if the rumors of Chimaev going up are true, it's me against Colby Covington. There's no other person that makes sense. He's above me. And with my streak, the way I'm going, I deserve to fight somebody that's right above me. I think I'm ahead of him anyway. I should be number 2 right under Usman. So I'm coming for his spot.
I love it. That's a fight I want to see.
Yeah.
Selfish pleasure there. All right. after we had to rub you a little bit about that, we'll move on to Francis Ngannou. So my wife asked me, and she's a mixed martial arts fan. She's probably a bigger Belal Muhammad fan than mixed martial arts fan. Certainly, she's Team Muhammad. But she was asking me about Francis Ngannou, and I got to be honest, I was just like, like I wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe, right? Now, I don't know all the details, and honestly, I didn't try hard to figure it out. From a promotional standpoint, it's like, and we'll get into it. You see the next topic, Jones gone. The promotion can be just fine. So obviously, I'd like to know what you think about it. Is he going to get some Conor McGregor boxing payday? If that's the case, why not? Talk to me. The heavyweight champ's gone.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, if he knows something that we all don't know, where he knows that if he's in some sort of negotiations with a boxing promotion or boxers, but I'm looking at all these boxers now, and it seems like they all have fights. And I was like talking with Joe Rogan about it, and he's like, this guy has a fight. Wilder has a fight. Fury has a fight already booked. And for those guys, it's a big fight too, because it's still Francis Ngannou. But you're gonna get that. You're gonna get one fight out of the deal. And I like, who are we kidding? Like, if you fight one of those guys, probably there's a big chance you're probably gonna lose, because those guys are just pure boxers. Those guys are really good. Maybe Wilder, but still Wilder just has that one punch knockout power. It'll put you to sleep. And if you lose one of those, then it's like, all right, well, you get your big payday, but that's it. And how big is that payday really going to be? How much people are really going to tune into it? Because you had the McGregor and Mayweather, and I mean, Mayweather showed that there's levels to boxing. Whether you could be the one of the best strikers in the UFC, but these guys been doing it since they were kids. These guys been doing it since they're young, and unless they do those special rules with small gloves, like Tyson Fury was talking about, with big boxing gloves, I think he's just going to light him up. He's just going to be too much for him. He's so smooth on the feet, and you're going to have some fans going to say it doesn't really make sense. I'm not going to watch that. I'm not going to pay for that, or I'm just going to stream it. So I don't know how big that payday is going to be. Obviously, it'll be bigger than one fight in the UFC, but if he has 4 or 5 or 3 or 4 more fights in the UFC, I think that in the long run would have paid off more.
Did you see him going to another promotion, another mixed martial arts promotion, or is it just?
I don't see it like being it. Like, I don't see anybody else out there willing to pay him that much, because the way the UFC was saying what they're offering him, the more than Brock Lesnar, like there's no other promotion that's going to be paying that, especially with pay-per-view numbers. Nobody else does pay-per-views. PFL just tried it. So maybe if you do one of those where it's like a Jake Paul, Nate Diaz on the card, boxing in the ring, because they had the Super Fight League, and maybe they do half boxing, half MMA, and they try to play something off that way. Maybe they could do something or spin it that way. But who's the opponent you're going to get Francis? There's really nobody that's going to get Francis. I don't like, he could become PFL champion, but you want to go through a tournament. The tournaments are the hardest things you could do. You have to fight 4 times in a year. And every single person that went from the UFC to the PFL, they realize that this is the hardest thing I'm dealing with right now. And same thing with, you're looking at Bellator. Who's the heavyweights they got over there? You got Fedor, who's a lot older now. You have Ryan Bader, who Francis will probably just walk through. Right. I don't think that there's anybody that challenge him. UFC, you got a huge fight with Jones. You got a huge fight with Stipe, a trilogy. You got a huge fight with Gane, because that first fight was so good. You got Pavlovich coming up, Curtis Blades. And I mean, it's crazy.
And the heavyweight division is stacked, and that what we've talked about that before in the show was not the case a year and a half ago necessarily. So it's fascinating turn of events, but I got to be honest, I'm much more interested in the heavyweight championship that will take place March 4th for the vacant belt. John Jones turns the octagon against another great athlete in Cyril Gane, man. These guys are elite athletes, man. MMA leader just rolls along. I mean, what a main event. So my younger brother, Dave, there's a third one of us, had booked his flight. He's got a work thing. He was going to be in Vegas March 4th, no matter what. And then he gets his heavyweight championship gift wrapped for him. So he can't wait. Dude, any early leans from you one way or another? I haven't looked at any gambling lines. I can't wait. I don't know how John Jones will look physically. But I'm glad this is the matchup. This interests me more than a Stipe matchup would have. Talk to me.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. Like I said, I think that Gane is like a harder puzzle to solve than Francis. Francis, yeah, he has the great power. Like, he was using more wrestling his last fight, but he's not going to take down Jones. He's not going to shoot on Jones. He's going to go out there and try to throw and try to land on Jones. And coming off of an injury, I wanted to see how Francis was against somebody else before John Jones, to see how the ACL happened. With Gane, like, his footwork, his movement, he has that funky style, that kind of like Wonder Boy style. It's like a weird style. It's a different style. And he's a lot faster than a lot of these heavyweights. He understands distance better than all these heavyweights. I think that the way he strikes, the way he moves, it's like there's a sophistication to it that many of these heavyweights don't have. And I want to see how Jones comes in against that, because Jones is the best puzzle solver. Best puzzle solver there is out there. Like, he figures out guys. He knows what your game plan is going to be, and he beats you at your own game. And he figures everything out you're going to do before you even do it. So with Gane, I know he got taken down a lot by Francis, but I think it was more surprising that, what the heck, Francis is out here shooting a takedown.
Right.
With Jones, you're going to be more prepared. You're going to be probably doing a lot more wrestling, because you have an idea that he's probably going to come in there trying to take you down. So I think he'll be training a lot more on it. He knows what he needs to fix from his last couple fights. I know he had a war with Bam Bam, but Bam Bam's a banger. I want to see how Jones comes out, how he looks that much heavier, putting all the extra muscle on. The time off is the biggest key. Like, 3 years off is crazy. And if anybody could do it, Jones could.
I hear you. And still got, he's got in the National Football League brothers. I know his legs weren't always, the thickest, but he'd been working that. I was watching him religiously, even back to like a year ago, just doing these leg workouts. He got just teams of bodybuilders around him. So
yeah, he was getting thick, but I brought it up with Rogan. I'm like, when he fought OSP, he put all the extra muscle on, but he looked a lot slower. He looked like lackadaisical. And I don't know if it was maybe he wasn't motivated for like an OSP fight. I'm sure he'll be way more motivated for this fight right here against Gane, a heavyweight title, something that people have been waiting for forever. So maybe it was just a lack of motivation in that fight. I'm hoping it wasn't just like because of the time off, it ruined everything. So I can't wait for this.
Yeah, and there are a lot of fights over the years that didn't take place for whatever reason. Khabib, Tony Ferguson certainly comes to mind. And so for me, this Gane-Jones fight, I understand Francis beat Gane, but this is a special fight that you don't always know how the chips may fall. If Stipe or someone creeps in here, you just never know how many more times even a guy like John Jones is going to fight. So I'm really glad, because I think he's getting, in coming back, the cream of the crop in this division, and Ciryl Gane, save Ngannou. Bob.
Yeah, he could have been the champion if he didn't. Literally, probably like 2 minutes away from becoming a champion. That fifth round was so close, and then he pulled that leg lock, and it was like, what the heck was that? But like, if he stayed on top of Francis, who knows how the judges would have had it, or if Francis would have been able to get up from bottom. So it was a dangerous game. I know a lot of people were saying, well, Francis took him down with a torn ACL, yada, yada, yada. But like I said, if you're not expecting a guy to shoot on you, like, it's like expecting like a Wonder Boy to shoot on you. You're not going to go in there
right,
training for wrestling. And if Wonder Boy goes out there wrestling, you're going to be more surprised than anything. I think that was the biggest key with that, is like, you're fighting Francis Ngannou, you're expecting him just to come out there and try to knock your head off. You're not expecting him to play wrestling with you.
Yep. And 2 weeks later, we will move to London, England. I'm still holding out hope that Belal Muhammad will be on that card, but it must be nice for you to know now that Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman will be happening. Whatever was happening with the hand, he's ready. So I'm ready to book my flight. If you are on that card, I'm hoping you are on that card. I don't know nothing, and I ain't going to find it out before anyone else. I'm more interested in when your next fight is, but I'm sure you're glad that this one's on the books. And if you don't have another fight on the books, then you got next.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, finally we have a date. Like, there was always that rumor, oh, they're going to book it on that card. They're going to book it on that card. Then you're wondering, you're hearing Masvidal come up. You're hearing Leon bring up Masvidal's name, and it just like annoys you a little bit. I'm glad that we finally have it set in stone that it's these two. And yeah, there's really nobody else in the division besides me. Like, I'm the next guy in line. If you're looking at it, who deserves it, who earned it. People were sitting there crying for Leon when he was on his 8-fight winning streak, and he beat Nate Diaz, and they were like, he deserves a title shot. He deserves a title shot. Like, give me those same tears. They're like, there's nobody that deserves it besides me. I'm on an 8-fight winning streak, beating way tougher guys than Leon. I've had 4 ranked wins. Like, there's nobody that should be next other than me. You can't play that game of, oh, well, Masvidal and him make a lot of sense. Masvidal's on 3-fight losing streak. It doesn't make any sense. If you want that fight to make sense, then put me and Masvidal on the same card. And if Masvidal beats me, then bam, he gets that. Otherwise, I should be next no matter what.
I'm with you. So ultimately, that's a date you're still hoping for, March 18th. Is there any news out there about Colby's health and his mouth and his?
So yeah, I just heard a couple of people saying that he's starting to come back now. He's starting to train again now. So I'm hoping that's positive news, and that's bringing it that maybe he's thinking about fighting again. But like, I just don't know what's going on with the court case, whether he's able to fight, whether he's talking to the UFC yet. So that's the hard part, is because all these guys above you that make sense, they don't want to fight you, and you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know if Khamzat's going middleweight, or you don't know if he's going welterweight. And, he's saying that 4 people are denying him. And I'm like, what 4 people are they offering his fight? Is he going midweight or welterweight? Why is he still in the rankings if he's not a welterweight? Kobe's stuck at number 2, and he hasn't beaten anybody good in the last 4 years. So, like, why is he still at number 2 if he's not fighting and he's been out for longer than a year? Take him out of the rankings like you did everybody else.
Right.
And if I'm sitting there at number 2, it gives the fans a clearer view of what happens, what should happen. But because if you still have me behind Khamzat and Kobe, it's still morons out there. Well, Kobe will kill you. Khamzat will kill you. They're above you. And it's frustrating, but it's like, I've been here my whole career. I've had people freaking down me my whole career, and I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah. Cody just chimed in. Colby's fought once per year in 2020, 21, and 22. So there you go. But either way, you keep handling your business. It's going to come for you just like it came for Jamal Hill. That opportunity, strap on the line. Speaking of opportunity, Joe Rogan Experience, the opportunity for Joe to have Belal in studio. So talk to me a little bit. I saw some clips here and there. I haven't digested the whole episode yet. That had to be an amazing experience. What were some of the highlights for you? I'm so happy for you. Talk to me.
Yeah, it was sick. It was one of those, one of those bucket list things, because I'm a guy, I drive so much to training practice, 45 minutes one way, 45 minutes home. And all I'm doing is listening to podcasts. I don't really listen to music at all. I'm listening to either Anik and Florian, listening about what MMA is, or, Joe Rogan. Anytime, seeing who he has on there, especially if it's an MMA fighter, I'm definitely tuning in. So I'm always just listening to podcasts. So to finally get that chance to see the studio and to be in there and to actually have a full conversation with him, because you see him when you're at fights and things like that, and it's always just a walk by or a, hey, what's up? It's never a full 3-hour conversation with one of the smartest guys in the game and one of the biggest personalities in the world, honestly, when you're looking at it on his podcast, that's the biggest in the world. And to finally get that recognition and to be able to be on a podcast like that. And you're looking at it well, it's just a podcast. And then you have a million people, bro, this is Joe Rogan. This is the biggest podcast in the world. I can't believe you're on it. And it's unbelievable. And then it starts getting you a little bit nervous as you're driving there. You're like, dang, all right, well, what if I go out there and I choke and I start getting, it's about fighting.
That's
nerves.
funny. I'm shocked to hear you say it, because when I first found out you're going to be on, I can't stop thinking about that post-fight interview with him when I think it was amid COVID where you guys are on separate screen. You're like, come on, Joe, or whatever. or no, there was one point where you didn't get a post-fight interview, but nothing phases you. That surprises me to hear that.
I can't get a call out.
Okay, go ahead and call somebody out.
Come on, Joe.
Who do you want to call out, bro?
Come on, man. I just want to fight, dude.
Thank you, Cody, to talking about. Exactly. But John's always said how Joe just is so generous and genuine. And I'm sure when you get to actually spend the time and actually sit and talk to him, means a lot. So I'm going to take in all that episode. So I'm sure no opportunity to shout out, remember the show. Let him know what's really up.
It was sick. It was one of those where I had so many people bro, give me a shout out. Say my name on there. Say my name on there.
I'm sure.
And it's you have an idea of what you're going to be talking about or ideas of where you want to take the conversation or something. But he's so good. And so it was the conversation was just flowing so easily. And it's you didn't want to just throw something random in there. So I had a million people are bro, you didn't say this or you didn't bring this up. And I'm bro, I'm not going to sit there and tell Joe, hey, these are the notes that I'm gonna bring up. And I have a couple of issues. Shout out to Gerald Mearshart. I went on there and I was I was training for David Vaya, and I was I didn't have no black belts, but I'm not thinking of that in that way. I'm thinking of it as in a specialist, like a David Maya, that, where all they do is just straight jiu-jitsu. Obviously, Gerald is one of the smartest fighters, one of the best fighters in the UFC, one of the best jiu-jitsu fighters in the UFC. He is a black belt, and he's taught me so much in this game, helped me so much in this game. So I didn't give Gerald his proper shout out, and I apologize for that. Gerald is a black belt, and he's helped me so much from my career and from for that Maya fight a lot. I told him, I was bro, you're talking to I'm in there. I'm just talking to Joe Rogan. And you're just in the middle of a conversation, and I'm talking about I'm talking about what you call it. Shout out to Mystic. I'm talking to about like Wonder Boy, and I'm like, yeah, you know, we didn't have no karate specialist for the Wonder Boy fight, and then you're going back to Maya, and it's like, yeah, I didn't have no jiu-jitsu straight up specialist in there because I'm like, oh wait, I forgot Gerald is one. I consider Gerald the all around fighter. I don't consider him
right, exactly. Don't want to paint him with that brush.
I had so many people eating me up off of that. I'm like, bro, that one hurt, but. Like you said, Joe is so down to earth and he's so cool. And like afterward, we went to his comedy show and it was sick. He was like, yeah, come to the comedy show. First, he hooked us up with a restaurant that was out there that was one of the best restaurants, steakhouses. And he's like, that's booked for like 3 months down the line, but we'll get you in there. And they got us in there. So that was cool. So we had like an early dinner. It was like 6 o'clock. And then we went right to the comedy show at 8. And that was awesome too. Cause I met Gordon Ryan. He was there watching the comedy show. He was cool. Nice. I wanted to get some training in with him.
Yeah.
But his time was like at 8 a.m. to train the morning of the show. And then I had to be at Joe's show at 12. So I'm like cutting it on the edge. And then I have Lou in the same room as me. And Lou is like the loudest snorer you're ever going to have. Like, literally, I'm like, bro, we're just hearing it. It's like, dude. It's like 6 a.m. And I'm like, I cannot sleep. And I was like, I didn't want to go into Joe's like, feeling like that where I was super tired. And I was like, especially if I go to a training session with these guys with no sleep and I go directly from there to Joe's, I'm like, I'll save the training session. I'll go to Joe's. So I got to jog in the morning and then I just went to Joe's and it felt good.
Yeah, of course you got to jog in. Dude, so Cody Merrow, our executive esteemed director, had just talked earlier in the week about sort of the fights at the Apex and just sort of not getting him going as much as maybe they did in the past. So we're going to let him join us here. We're going to do the Bicks, talk about a pay-per-view. Maybe that'll get his juices going in Brazil. Bullies. That was fair, what I said, was it not, Cody?
What? I
You
mean,
weren't really feeling the Apex?
No, I'll be lucky to be able to. Well, here's the thing. I'd be perfectly fine with it if somebody wants to hook me up with some comp tickets to go to the Apex and watch the fights. Like, by all means.
Yeah, watching it there live is a different level. Like being there, like I was telling Joe, he said it's like nothing like the same thing. Especially him, where he doesn't have to commentate. He can just sit in there like a fan. You hear everything. You hear the cornering. You hear every single punch. You hear the breathing hard. So it's cool to experience. And if you're a huge fan and you have the money to watch it live at the Apex, I would definitely go. It's not going to be the same as watching it on TV because, like you said, if you're not there, you don't get that same feel of energy, and there's no fans there, there's no crowd there cheering. And some of those fights last week, they definitely deserved it.
Yeah,
they deserved the crowd cheering and stuff like that. And I think it would have changed a lot, some of those outcomes.
So the reason that I texted John and Jason what I said, where I was just like, the Apex ain't doing it for me anymore, is because Umar's knockout. I felt like in an arena that would have blown up. It was like huge, like crazy, like that would have blown up. It would have been a huge moment for him on the mic. Like he gets he speaks great English. He would have like brought him up a little bit. And instead it's at like the little Apex Center. It's quiet. Nobody's cheering. His call out goes unlistened to. Nobody cares. Like, I don't know. And then also not for nothing, the Francis and Stipe replays all the time are from a quiet Apex arena. And I can't imagine that fight in a crowd wouldn't have done 5 times the excitement, you know?
Yeah, but that was early in the
pandemic. Well,
so that one deserves it. This one, I can understand that one now.
There's going to be fighters that their entire UFC career is only Apex highlights until next year or this year. Think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, what's the fight coming up? Cheeto Sandhagen in the Apex with no fans?
See, but that I like. I like.
I want to fly to. Like,
What's
I want
that?
to go there and watch that. Like, I would want to watch that live.
Dude,
I want to be sick.
I
Yeah,
hear
how about Marab versus Jan just got booked, and that's in the Apex.
Oh, that's an Apex too.
Yeah.
When did that
that's
get
huge
booked?
for
Earlier
Moreno
today.
smaller
Yeah,
cage.
6 hours ago.
The Wallace Willie, let's go.
Yeah, he's tough though. I mean, for Peter Yan, you look at the guys he's fighting. He's fighting the best of the best.
No doubt.
He's fighting like he won the title. Like he's fighting all these title contenders. It's crazy. So respect to Peter Yan for taking that fight.
No
I'm
question.
Sure
That
not a lot of people want the Marab fight, and
you're right.
It makes sense.
That
Well, and isn't
knee is gonna
every
haunt
fight-
him the rest of his life?
Every fight's kind of like a no-win for Marab at this point. I mean, until Aljo decides to move up, it's like, so Marab beats Piotr Yan, then what? Does he take the loser of Cejudo O'Malley? Does he take the loser of Aljo Cejudo? Like what?
I mean, I think he's gonna have to go on that. Yeah, just beating all the guys that Aljo beat, and then just going back to back with him, because like you can't let him beat other contenders on the rise. So it has to be guys that just probably just lost the title shot, and especially if they're not gonna fight each other. And I mean, how many? If you're Aljo, I think you got Cejudo, then you got O'Malley, and then who's next? Like if he's really talking about moving up, so if he wins those 2 fights, I think that would be the time for him to move up, and then maybe Merab could just do that.
Well, and I saw someone say that Figgy's thinking about moving up if he beats Moreno. So Figgy at 135 against Sterling. I don't know. Does that move the needle enough to keep Aljo? I don't know. I don't personally think it does, but
I mean, he has 2 huge fights ahead of him. I don't think Figgy's not going to cut the line in front of a Cejudo or O'Malley. Like if I'm Aljo, I'm waiting for both of those guys. I'm not looking at nobody else.
Yeah,
I agree.
So interesting things coming.
I love it. All right. First fight we're going to talk about in your welterweight division. Not a very close fight on paper. Number 5, I repeat, number 5, Gilbert Burns versus number 12, Neil Magny. So Magny's won 3 of 4. He's been around a while, man. His 29th walk in the UFC. It's just nuts, man. Last appearance in April, defeated Daniel Rodriguez, 3rd round, Darce choke, performance of the night. He's typically a decision machine, but this is certainly his toughest test yet, in my opinion. So Burns had a win over Wonderboy, sandwiched between the championship loss to Usman and then the loss to Chimaev. I gained so much respect watching Burns fight in that fight against Chimaev. I mean, he was impressive that night. I think if that fight went 5 rounds, he might have emerged victorious. Anyway, Bully, first pick, your division. You ain't fighting either one of these guys. Huge line on paper. How does it go down? Who do you like?
I mean, I honestly think it's just going to be an easy fight for Burns. Magny really against grapplers, he gets manhandled a lot of the time. If you had like a smaller guy like RDA, arm triangle him in the first round, it was like super easy. Shavkat took him down. He was bigger, but he handled him on the ground super easily. I'm seeing that video strolling around of Chimaev just like sitting on his chest. And
I saw that too.
On the ground. And we saw Chimaev with Gilbert on the ground. He really didn't want to be on the ground with him. He felt him. And Gilbert obviously is a great ground fighter. So I think if Gilbert gets it to the ground, it'll be an easy night for him. But Gilbert likes to brawl. He likes to bang. He likes to come out and throw hands. And he doesn't have the best offensive takedowns. Like he'll go for a single leg or a double leg, but he doesn't have that great like D1 wrestling or anything like that. He has jiu-jitsu wrestling where he'll go for a single leg. If it doesn't work, he'll pull guard with it and then play that game. But if Magny uses his length, uses his distance, he has way better cardio than him. It could be a fight, but Magny sucks, and I think Gilbert's going to finish him.
Cody, before you pick, I can't help but sit here and think about it. Really would be a great fight with you and Burns. I mean, what a fucking matchup. Excuse my language. Sorry. I can't help but think about your name sitting next to it. But that's for another day. Maybe when you're hoisting the strap, maybe he'll get another opportunity to get some different opponent.
In Chicago at the the American
United Center.
United Center.
Yeah,
see?
All those banners.
Michael Jordan, rafter in the
Cody.
rafters.
Right?
I mean, I'll be shocked. Like, I want to echo everything that Belal said. I mean, I think Gilbert is by far the better grappler in this situation. Magny does good against good grapplers, but bad against great grapplers. So I think that there's a clear path to victory. He's been in the game a long time. I think that means his chin's a little suspect too. We have seen sometimes where, the going gets tough and Neil Magny doesn't exactly, take the hard way out. So I think, especially being at home for Gilbert, in Rio, buoyed by his people, he's a very emotional guy. I think he's going to fight with a lot of emotion. I'll be shocked if this makes it out of the first round. I think Gilbert probably puts him away. I'd say knockout TKO just because I don't think he's going to be willing to jump a ghillie or anything like that when he has Neil hurt. But I would be shocked if this lasts the 1.5.
And winner calls out Belal no matter what. Is that going to happen?
Yeah.
Anyway, not available, gentlemen. Got better things planned. Co-main event. Next fight, we're going to talk about flyweight title. Davison Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno. Like, I literally have no idea who the champion is. You know what I mean? It's like these guys fight like twice a year. Like, I don't even remember, But anyway, in all seriousness, their fourth meeting started with a draw December of 2020. Then Moreno chokes out Figueiredo. That was June of 2021. Then Figueiredo unanimous decision. That was January 2022. Figueiredo hasn't fought since. Moreno, the interim belt, impressive victory over Kai Kara France there, put himself right back in this position in Rio. Won't have James Krause in his corner, I have to add. As much as I didn't love the idea of a fourth fight, and I sort of joked earlier about who's the fucking champ, I can't wait. Cody, we'll let you start because I don't want you to hear who Bully likes first. Close one on paper. Davison, a slight dog, is the champ. Cody, who you got in the co-main event? Or we can have Bully lead.
No, that is what I was looking at, and I'm just trying to make sure I spelled Davison's name correctly. Because as it stands,
I'll tell you.
What did you have the line at?
Oh, the line, I had Davison plus 105, Moreno. Yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah. So I gotta say, like, the fact that Figgy's a dog here in Brazil makes me love this pick even more. I mean, Figueiredo, when he comes out there with something to prove, I feel like he's a fucking banshee. When Moreno comes out there and can solve a little bit of that fire, that's when he's had the success. But I think Davison at home, it's either going to be a positive or it's going to be an incredibly negative. He might be incredibly drained from the weight cut. He's talked about moving up to 135 in the media day. So is that weighing on him? Is that something that's going to impact him here, or is the energy going to carry him? I think Davison is one of the coldest dudes that I've ever been in the presence of my life. I've never been afraid of somebody that was under 5'9" in my life, except Davison. So I got to go with Figueiredo here. I think that he wins. I think that he stays at 125 for at least one defense, and then he's going to move up. So I would say Davison. I think it'll go to the decision. Davison by decision.
Wow.
I'm going to go with Moreno here. I like Moreno. I think that the last fight was so close. These guys are so evenly matched. They're both so tough. I think Moreno just made a couple of errors in the last fight where he got a little bit too emotional, I feel like. And he's usually not one of those emotional fighters. When he first came out there, his last fight, I'm like, man, he doesn't look like the normal Moreno. And, he started off kind of like, you could just tell that he had a little bit more anger in him. I think this time he realized that, and he'll figure it out better. You play with Legos. You don't have to be an angry fighter, Moreno. We know you're not. We know you're not angry. You don't have none of that in you. You don't have hate in you. So I like that. Like you said, Figueiredo cuts a lot of weight. I think that's gonna be an issue for him. I know he posted a video of him looking super shredded, but like when you have all those veins coming out of you, like you look super dehydrated already, and it's still the week of the fight. You shouldn't be looking that super skinny and drained like the Monday of fight week. That just tells me it's going to be a super hard weight cut. And Moreno, I don't think he has crazy hard weight cuts. Now he's with Saif Saud in his corner. I know Krause is gone, but like I said he already had a game plan already set for this fight. General Saif Saud, a guy that a lot of people respect, a great coach. So for him to be an extra piece in the corner, I think he's going to help him a lot, give him extra things that he's seen. And that's why, that's why I like going to other gyms and seeing other gyms, getting ideas from other coaches, because those guys will tell you something about yourself that you may have not known yourself. Like if they're planning to fight you and they're honest with you, like, yeah, I see this as one of your weaknesses. And I think Coach Saif is like that, where he'll be like, if I was going to fight you, I would do this, this, and this. I think that him bringing that up, bringing it to the table will be huge for Moreno, and it'll give him just like a breath of fresh air type thing. So I think we'll have a different fighter with Moreno. And, Coach Saif is one of those guys that's going to get you in the zone while he's in the corner no matter what. Like, you're not going to be distracted or angry or anything in there. So I like that in his corner, and I think that's going to be huge, and I think that Moreno is going to win this fight.
One just interesting point that you bring up about like the sports science aspect. Moreno obviously has the impact of the PI. He's in and out of Vegas pretty frequently. Figueiredo, might not have the same sports science where he trains. He might not be as physically tuned in maybe as Moreno. So that could be a reason why the weight cut is so bad, is because maybe he's doing it, the old fashioned way, and he's just doing like a strict water cut. Maybe he's just cutting out food, like incredibly diet restricted. Maybe he's just not doing it the right way.
Yeah, I mean, we'll be interested. We'll find out Friday how he walks to the scale.
So it's interesting. Yeah. So Moreno, and we'll get to the main event moving on here. So Moreno and Jamal Hill faced off on Remember the Show few months back, right? So both favored to become champions. Well, obviously Moreno's been champion before, both favored in the 2 championship fights this weekend. But Jamal Hill was great to Moreno on this show, right? Because Jamal Hill was pacing him, and he was just really cool, really sweet guy. Keeping Moreno in it a little bit. So pretty cool that they'll see each other. It's pretty cool to see the connections you guys have. And obviously you and Jamal Hill have a great connection, Bully. And it's just cool to see all that, because even them being on this show together, no doubt that connects them a little bit,
Yeah, Yeah, that was cool.
experience.
And they're both like two of the nicest guys in the UFC and two of the nicest guys that you meet. Any fighters out there. So they're like the most chill people, and everybody who sees them in person, the fans that interact with them, like they're the coolest people to anybody they see. They're always at a lot of these fights, and it was awesome to see. And I didn't put it together that they both of them were on the show. And when Jamal was sitting there lighting them up, he was like, "I could go ahead, just smoking his blunt." I was like, going back thinking
right?
about that as the funniest
going off screen. I love it. So let's get right there. Main event. Brazil. You know what's interesting? So it's a 10 p.m. Eastern time start time, but they're 2 hours ahead. So it's midnight for my boy John Anik calling that main event. Anyway, so Dana White didn't like the way the light heavy.
It's gonna be.
What's up?
It's gonna be 3 a.m. by the time the main event rolls around.
Well, I think that. Oh yeah, exactly. You're right. No, no, it's 12. Well, no, the main card starts at 10 p.m. Eastern. 12.
Yeah, so it's like 2 hours
Yeah,
till
exactly.
and a
You're
title fight before that. So
yeah,
thank God Valentina Shevchenko's on here. It'd be another 30-minute extra.
So the light heavyweight championship of the world, Dana didn't like that fight between Ankalaev and Blachowicz, and certainly didn't like the draw result. Therefore, Jamal Hill gets a title shot against the former champ. Glover Teixeira was born in the 1970s, just like me, gentlemen, 43 years of age. Unbelievable. So he lost to Yuri. That was June of 2022. Rear naked choke, late round 5. Great fight. So he'll be in Brazil. Let's talk about our guy, Jamal Hill. So we know what Paul Craig did to him, but since then, 3 straight knockouts. Man, this contrasting styles here. I can't wait to see our guy Jamal hoist the strap here, man. I hope that's what happens. Bully, I said before, I know you're tight with him. He's going into enemy territory. Cody made some comments to me earlier about him in enemy territory. So you see here, -140. So he is a slight favorite here. Belal, Jamal Hill, opportunity to become a UFC champion. Do you think he gets it done?
Man, I hope so. Like, honestly, Glover is one of my favorite fighters. He's like one of the nicest guys in the world when you meet him in person. So, but Jamal is my boy. I think that the way he got this fight, the way he stepped up, the way his last 3 fights have gone, how they've all been crazy finishes. His last fight with Santos was a crazy fight, and he showed a lot of toughness in that fight. And to get a finish in the later rounds of that fight shows that he has heart too. And a lot of people thought he was just one of those, oh, if you don't knock you out, then he's not going to be in there in the later rounds. But he showed that he has toughness. He has smooth footwork, his stand-up, his boxing, his different angles that he has. And he has like a humbleness to him where he brought out Anthony Smith, and he's learning from Anthony Smith, who may be fighting him that same day. So that was cool. And the respect that he showed him on social media afterward. And, he's asking me for advice, and he's like, hey, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Just like little stuff like that, when you don't have to say those things. Like, I would help you anyway, but he's very thankful for everything that he's gotten. And the way he talks in his interviews, the way he gets me so hyped with his quotes and his motivation. He's like, yeah, I'm going to enemy territory. I'm going to stand up at their lawn, and I'm going to take put their guy to sleep and something like that. So it's like, it's cool to see, because when he first got this fight and he said, I want to see if I'm good enough. That was my always goal. Like, I get to find out. This is my fight where I get to find out. And Glover's one of those guys. He's a legend of the sport. He's a big name. Everybody's always watched him. Everybody's always loved him. He's been a champion. He could still be the champion if it wasn't for that last 30 seconds of that fight. So this is the deserving fight for the title. I know the Ankalaev and Jan was a close fight, and it was a tie, and those guys are upset they didn't get it. But I felt like Glover got the short end of the stick with there, and I think he deserves to be a part of the championship fight. So I'm glad that he got it back. But I think Jamal, he's a little bit too much hungry. He's way more hungry than him. Glover's on the end of his career thinking about retirement, and if he wins, it would be an amazing thing for him to win the title in Brazil and retire like that. But for Jamal Hill, I want to see him win. I want to see him go out there, go to enemy territory, bring a title back home. He's from Chicago. Everything he's been through, his life, his family, the people he does it for, you could see he does the fighting for the right reasons. And it's not to stun on Instagram or, be stupid or anything like that. Like, he's a family man. He's a good man. And I want to see him win this fight. And I think he can.
Sweet dreams, -140. Glover Teixeira, +120. Cody, you like the favorite as well?
I do, but before I jump into my analysis, I just want to say, like, this is my uncle. Like, I can't even get my own family to pick with me. I mean,
Tim Merrill, there he is.
Fade is going hard. Even on
What's
the
up, Uncle
show.
Tim? Thanks for joining us live. Appreciate
You're
you.
a smart man.
So funny enough, Jay, my Uncle Tim's first event that I brought him to was the UFC Boston event where we watched Stipe dismantle Francis.
Amazing.
Which I do have a question that leads into that. You know, we also saw DC. So does DC comment on Jamal Hill's jump shot during the UFC pay-per-view this weekend? I guess we'll see, right?
He should.
I saw Jamal Hill numbers just playing video games. Jamal is saying like I killed him in video games. I want to watch that interview with him in DC. He's like, go watch the interview and watch me light him up on the game.
That'd be fun. I mean, watch it. DC just cut it. I mean, he's like anti-bully at this point. I mean, is DC's pro-bully or he's like publicly anti-bully? I don't get it. But I mean, Jamal Hill, the point that I made to Jason and why I think Jamal Hill is uniquely set up in this title fight to be successful. We've been speaking Jamal Hill's praises for a long time. You know, I don't think you'll find bigger proponents of Jamal Hill than the three guys on this show. He's Remember the Show champion, multi-time. We got to get him a belt or a shirt or something to rep, a chain maybe. But
I got him some size 15 shoes. I finally found him. My boy said it to me. They're like long as his arm. He's like, yo, I found it.
Yeah, next time you're at Dick's Sporting Goods in the canoe section, you can pick up another pair. I just think Jamal, he's got that dog in him. And I have a hard time. If I close my eyes and I imagine the walkout, I think you can take a lot from the walkout. Sometimes you watch a guy walk out and you're instantly like, no, he doesn't have it in him. I can't imagine Jamal walking into Brazil and feeling intimidated whatsoever. I think he's going to walk in there with that just mean mug look on his face, and he's going in there ready for war. And unfortunately, I think that's going to be bad news for Glover, who, in my opinion, Glover wins this fight before he even steps into the cage. It's arguably one of his last fights, could be his last fight. He's walking in Brazil and home. You know, it's going to be a crazy vibe for him to be able to walk into that octagon. I just think Jamal's too much for him. I think he's been doing all the right things in training. So I think he puts Glover out early. I'd be shocked if this wasn't one of those highlights and knockouts that we look at next year as like, wow, like that was the coming of one of the next stars of the game. I think everything is working in Jamal's favor here. I just hope that he doesn't get taken down. But Glover's chin, regardless of his age, you know, we saw in the fight against Jiri, his chin's still there, but can it handle Jamal Hill? Unfortunately, I don't think so. You know, I think it's going to be a great send-off for Glover, but Jamal Hill has got to be the pick here.
So a couple other fights I just want to get to real quick. I always tell Cody, like, Jessica Andrade is my favorite fighter. Cody, I think, loves Lauren Murphy. That's an interesting matchup.
Got to come back on for that.
Yeah, exactly. And I got one more. But, I mean, Bully, this is a big line. Murphy's got some size on her in this division, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she's way bigger in person, than Jessica. But Jessica, that arm triangle was one of the best submissions that we've seen.
Dude.
Yeah, she looked like a beast, and you know her only hiccup is to the champion. So I'm always going with Jessica. Just like I just want to see her just pick somebody up and slam her, like she always does. Like when she's so small, but she's like a little freaking huge ball of muscle with these girls, and her wrestling in there is so good. Lauren, like you said, she's a lot bigger. She's very strong. She looked great against Misha Tate. She showed a lot of toughness that fight, but I think Jessica is going to be a little bit too much for her. She's going to be faster than her. She's going to be a lot, I think, better in the grappling than her. So I'm going to give it to Jessica. I'm not saying it's a finish. I'm going to call it a decision, but I think Jessica, like, I'll wrestle her.
Bate Esteca, the pile driver in Portuguese. Jessica Andrade. But I mean, I agree with you. I just can't not bet Lauren Murphy at the dog money. And the reason that I have pause about this is because the fight's in Brazil. If this was in the UFC Apex, I think Lauren Murphy at dog money is a fucking steal. But because this is in Brazil with that crowd, with Brazilian judges, I think Jessica Andrade is going to win this fight no matter how it goes, if it goes to a decision. So that's my pick.
The final thing I just want to get to, I just am so fascinated that Paul Craig is going to be in the building with Jamal Hill, right? So he has that amazing submission over Jamal Hill. Then Jamal Hill, 3 straight knockouts, and now he's competing for the belt. I think Craig's fought twice since, won one, lost one, but they went out that night after that fight. And I think we learned a little bit about Jamal Hill, how well he handled that loss, not only in terms of how he sort of built himself as a fighter beyond that, but just sort of, you know, being a human being and being able to go out and hang out with Paul Craig. And I just think it's fascinating in this game, how quickly, you know, now Paul Craig just, you know, I don't know how long ago that was. I meant to look it up. Less than 2 years ago, you're submitting a guy and now you're on the same card and he has an opportunity for the championship, right? It's nuts.
Yeah, it's cool. And like you said, I was in that same card with him. I drove to the arena with
That's
Jamal,
right.
because that's when I fought Maya. And, like I said, Jamal on the way to the arena is like one of the coolest dudes, sitting there rapping, chilling. Like, it didn't seem like he was going to war right now. So he was like relaxed the whole time. But seeing them both at the hotel afterward, Jamal, like I said, he's one of the nicest, humblest guys you meet in person. And he goes up to Paul and like shaking his hand with all of his team, chilling with them. And I think Paul is just one of those guys where a lot of people just underestimate him. And, he tapped out Ankalaev with like 10 seconds left in the fight. Like, I think right at the buzzer, and he finished Ankalaev. So like, he's beaten some huge names. And I think that he just has that underdog in him, and that got that, that I'll come out of anywhere and catch you with it. Like, he has that crazy guard where people just, you don't think a guard's going to work in the UFC, but Paul Craig showed you that it does work. Walker, he looked good his last fight, but he's just so all over the place. He'll look good one time, and then he'll look bad. He'll look good. He'll look bad. Kudalaba's one of those other guys exactly like him, where he has all this hype at the weigh-ins, and then he goes to the fight, and it's just like, where's that same guy with that, bring that same energy to the fight? So I don't really hold that win high for Johnny Walker. I don't think it's going to be one of those that's going to get him on the right track. I'm still going with Paul Craig here. He showed a lot of toughness his last fight. He got beat up pretty bad. He was getting deep on some crazy shots, takedowns, and he would just like pull guard. I'm hoping that he fixed that and he learned how to run with his double leg and shoot from there, because I thought he could have won that fight if he just switched some things up a little bit. So maybe it's a different fighter. Maybe he actually uses some wrestling this time and not just thinking that he's going to tap everybody out, pull guard on everybody. Johnny Walker is one of those guys that I don't think he has the greatest fight IQ. So I think if it does end up going to the ground, he'll stay down there with Craig, and he'll end up getting caught.
Cody, you like the dog here too?
I do, but I think the under and within the first is going to be the play here. I think that this fight's going to be batshit no matter how long that it lasts. That's what I said to you on the phone, Jay. It's weird that Johnny Walker's a -190 favorite when you actually look at their two resumes, right? Like, it makes you wonder, like, what do the bookies know that I don't? But
right. Craig's always the dog, it feels like, no matter who.
Yeah, like I said, everybody just always underestimates him.
Yeah, well, and so I have to say that that's the value play. I don't think Johnny Walker should be a -190 favorite. That's why Paul Craig is the play here. So another one where I just think also I'm really interested to see. The Brazilian fans have been absolutely itching for some entertainment. The weigh-in for this is going to be awesome. I think that could be like the highlight of the weigh-ins. But yeah, the play for me here is the under 1.5. I was just looking was -185. So I think the bookies agree with me there too. So I would say Paul Craig, but the under, it's just going to be crazy. Johnny Walker probably blow his load in the first 2 minutes of this fight.
On his dance.
Well, anyone can see all of your Bicks obviously on Instagram. We gave you 5 tonight. It's more than the 3, but Bully's obviously gonna clean the slate and give you all the Bicks and kill it as he normally does. Anyway, I'm excited for a pay-per-view. Hopefully, you'll have a fight on the books that can get announced soon. You might know something in your head, just might not be ready to break it to the Remember the Show audience. But maybe we just need to get Rogan and John to come do this show, and we need to just have John sort of facilitate that because the Joe Rogan Experience didn't quite get Remember the Show on the radar. But that's okay. I'm not mad like GM3 at all. I get it. Anyway.
Well, and sorry, last point on that. How about the fact that Belal was on JRE before John? We haven't gotten the John Anik experience yet.
Oh yeah, you ever offered him to come on? I'm sure he probably did.
Logistical things, it can be tough, and yeah, I mean, there's certainly been some. What they're really trying to do is have DC and John. I don't know if DC has been on with it. They were trying to go together, John and DC, but logistically, sometimes it just doesn't always work, and you can be sure John's traveling more than Rogan. Rogan's not in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah, and DC's literally doing something new every single day. Like, exactly. I see him doing this show. So yeah, It makes sense.
Well, and isn't it the dream to have like I don't know what scenario this would be the case, but if they could do an actual official UFC fight companion, but at Rogan's place, legally, I'm sure that they wouldn't be able to get it.
Well, no, but they could. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I thought about that a lot because there's certainly opportunities with the the fight nights and things like that. No question about it.
I would pay to watch that. If you were saying, hey, Cody, like, if you need to spend $85, but you also get to watch Rogan, DC, and Anik from Rogan's place in Austin, like, can you do that? I'm like, sign me up. I'll get a ball.
Guys
of
are getting
Coca-Cola.
high on mushrooms.
Hey, don't throw. Add Dominic Cruz in there for good measure. Like let's have a good time.
There you go. But anyway, I think it's Bisping, Felder, and John this weekend, so that should be fun. I'm
No,
warming
it's
back.
BC. Bisping just had back surgery. Actually, shout out
Oh
Bisping.
yeah,
I
that's
hope
right.
you're getting healthy, bud. He just had back surgery.
That's right. I don't know why I thought it was Bisping. Anyway,
Not like you're watching, but I hope you're okay.
anyway, I'll be watching. Yeah, I'll be watching pay-per-view, as all of you watching this show probably will Saturday night. For the great Belal, remember the name Muhammad. My name is Jason Anik. Cody as well. Shout you out. We'll see you next week, Thursday night. Remember the show. Have a good night.
Peace.